You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Weird Science Marvel Comics Podcast, episode 52. That is legacy number 52. I'm here, as always, with Matt. What up, Matt?
What up, Jim?
What up? We have 3 books, as per usual, with that. And this was one of the weeks where we were wondering what would be the third book. And then I started looking at them, and I'm like, wait a minute, the Ultimates comes out. Why didn't he mention that? And then I read it and realized why. And I then realized when we got on here that we kind of said we weren't going to deal with that book anymore, but we are at least one more time. And again, one of the reasons why, and it's not going to prove a point to anybody because people who don't like it, whatever, they're probably not going to change their mind. Of course, in a fight, they wouldn't. But I'm telling you, that first issue, we told everybody, and I think we're right. I like to prove everybody right each and every episode. With that, though, we're going to talk about Get Fury, Spider-Boy, a book that keeps on chugging. I know that people don't like Dan Slott, but people did like Spider-Boy. I don't hear anybody talking about it anymore, but it's still a cute little book. Mm-hmm. And then the Ultimates, as I said. So we're going to get into that. Before we go into that, though, check out where you can find us over at the website, WeirdScienceMarvelComics.com, where Sus Gabe will tell you all about the things he's reading, then end up going over to the YouTube channel that is the Weird Science Comics, which I have done a couple reviews. I get to get back on the horse there. I've been putting one up, but if you're listening to this or whatever, one of the things we do put up is Marvel stuff. So, because me and Matt do that early, so it's easier for me to make the videos, and plus me and you get to it. If people think that me and you meander, they've never listened to me and Eric on the DC Comics podcast where a review can take 50 minutes. Nonsense. But also you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Weird Science. And there we have a ton of shows, DC, Marvel, indie, manga, all that all rolled up into one. I always mention, but me and Matt do a Crisis/Events podcast. And at the moment we're doing Planet Hulk, which we are enjoying. But even if you join up now and you get that, there's also back issues and back programs that we've done. Secret Wars, both.
So many.
Yeah, we've done so many. We're like on episode 150 almost of that deal. So there's plenty to listen to, especially Marvel stuff. If that is what you're into, which I figure you would be because you're here for the Marvel podcast. And we're going to get right into this. I'm going to start with Get Fury. It's Get Fury number 5, written by Garth Ennis, pencils by Jason Burrows, inks by Guillermo Ortega, colors by Nolan Woodard, and letters by Rob Steen. And I like the book. It ends up where it's at a point where, I don't know, like none of it's going to shock me, even though I say that and there is a horrific death, but there's one every issue.
Every issue,
I've said it's pretty much now a slasher movie where you go and you have to one-up yourself with the kills, stuff like that, and it's over the top. This one, it's almost like, I don't know why, but I started laughing as if Nick Fury lost a quarter down the one guy's throat because he's trying to get it, but he does say he's going to rip his spine out, and it's kind of an Arnold move,
I haven't
right?
heard that one before. That's a new one for me.
It's one of those like, I'll reach down and rip out the spine. That was my Arnold impersonation, which I believe that was from Running Man, possibly. But yeah, this whole play though is Nick Fury is captured. He is in the Hanoi Hilton, and we've done a deal where Frank Castle has slowly gotten towards there. He actually gets there this issue. In the meantime, there's all the cogs that are going. And I told you before we started, I do like the woman and her daughter, the daughter being Nick Fury's daughter as well. I don't care about the CIA guys. I don't care about the general. I know that they're the ones that are the bad guys. They're doing all the crazy stuff. But even in this issue, you almost get this play where the one guy from the CIA says, you know what? I was thinking, and I don't think we really have to do any of this stuff because I don't think Nick Fury's going to sell us out. He likes war. He's not going to end up doing something to stop it. I'm like, well, what? Like, this is the whole concept of this is for them to stop you. Which
that was weird. That conversation was weird.
And it's a weird thing because do you get where as they're driving, they're talking about it. We'll just go and jump forward to that at this point. The CIA guys are driving, right? The one guy's like, whoa. Is the guy on coke or something?
He's just
like
flying down the street.
Like there was never anything that came from it except that he's running people
just
off
an
the
amazing
road.
Erratic driver. Yeah,
I swear to God, at one point he could have went around some people and he made a point to go at them.
It's like when you see a puddle on the side of the road and you deliberately splash the person walking.
Like because we have a problem with our grate outside our house, every time it rains, I have to go and take the leaves and stuff out of this grate or else it floods. And people just they definitely go. And when I get hit, it's like a tidal wave. And then I look, my kids are looking, laughing in the window. But again, there's a play where the one CIA agent is like, man, what's wrong with you? Man, you're driving. I'm like, are we supposed to? Because the idea of this, the thing that made me laugh is they're doing things with heroin. That ain't going to make you all jumpy about the things. So I was like, I thought that they were playing the idea that this guy was, going in and taking some of the product here.
It's just funny seeing him run like farmers off the road and stuff.
It's weird, though. Just when the one guy brings it up and goes, what's wrong with you? You're going too fast. I'm like, why is this a thing? I thought that something would happen. Maybe they will wreck by the end. It's like setting it up.
Maybe. Yeah.
But in the meantime, we ended up having that general. And he was having his dance party last time. Remember, he's having the sock hop with all the records. Those other guys are dead. We didn't even have it. I thought we were going to go to those guys right away. Remember, you ended up turning up the stereo to end up blasting them with their guns, which the stereo would never cover that sound. It's best that we just move forward from that so we don't think it's ridiculous. Also, me and you said that. I heard like 3 other podcast or video things talk about that specific thing, that there's no way guns going off are going to be covered by, some random Beatles record or something. But they have this general. You end up having them walking. They're walking in the Hanoi Hilton. They're walking down the hallway. The thing is, you see eventually that Frank legitimately has a gun out.
Yeah, it's weird because
are these guys blind?
Yeah, they're just walking. He's so big, they're walking behind him. I guess they can't see. But
I get it, but this one guy's like, "Hey, what's going on?"
I don't think he needs the gun. I mean, he could just kick this guy's ass.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it.
It's like 3 feet taller than him.
Yeah, so he ends up like he could headbutt these guys dead. So and Frank is still playing. He's a Russian. So they go. Yeah. The other thing that's funny is he doesn't speak real good Vietnamese, if that's what's going. And because remember, he was having problems with that. And these guys are like, I don't know if he really knows what they're really saying here. And he's just kind of going. And again, it's not even like he's got the gun in his shirt and it's like up wide against, open. Right? And there's space between. And this one guy comes up and he's like, hey, sir, what's going on? Like, you can't, because they're saying we're going to get Nick Fury. He's going to be given, or at least, he's going to be interrogated by this Russian who is Frank. And this guy is like, he's not going for it. Hey, this isn't weird. Or this is weird. You're not supposed to go to Fury's cell. Who told you this? And the general is going to try to play like, I said so, and I got word. And so the one guy's like, hey, you here, like his partner, his lackey. Luckily, too, he says to this guy, you go and find out if these are real orders, right? Mm-hmm. So the guy leaves. If he would have stayed, he'd be dead. Because right after that, as they open up Nick Fury's cell, you end up getting Frank grabs this guy and slams him into the wall. His face is caved in.
He basically like deletes the right side of this guy's face.
Gone. It's gone. He's, he's not two-face. He's half face. And he's there and he's just done. Luckily that he says, we'll just put him in, Fury's cell. We'll get Fury out. Not that they're going to pretend that that guy's in there. They're just hiding him at this point. And I love where this general's like, he's crapped his pants. He's like, oh, as you end up where this guy's just dead. And so he's like, grab the legs, we'll do this. And they go in. And when they go in, you have the horrific deal of, what have they done? The end of last issue, you had the one guy, that narrator, say, bad things happen here. But Nick, he's got bad things happen to him before. So it's not going to be, anything he hasn't seen. Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, I mean, this is like next level cool. It's just his fingers are broken.
Oh, I was
his
just going to say,
red.
When you look at it at first, you're going to look to see the cavity of the non-eye. Then his other eye. Those fingers are so broken. That might be the way, like his pinky on his, it's just like completely curved up. He's there. They have, his clothes.
You would never be able to recover from this.
You end up, I don't want to say it completely, but it looks like there might be some excrement thrown on him. There's also stuff on the wall, blood, all that. And he's just in there. Cell doesn't look so big. Anything that they can do, and they're going to get him and get him out. But the thing is, it's kind of hard to disguise a guy that's this messed up. Maybe
he looks like Frankenstein or something.
Yeah, he does. if it's the Franken Castle.
There you go.
Castle. But you end up where Nick, like maybe what you play is like, pretend he died. This is what I would do. Like, I would think, like, get something where you can, oh my God, the prisoner died. And nobody would question you, really, because it even looks like they, like, cut the top of his head. And it's bad. Mm-hmm. But they end up going to get him. And that's where we end up getting, Speed Racer. These guys, the CIA guys, I'm telling you, I don't get the play here. When you end up where this one guy is giving the idea, hey, I don't think we should worry that much. I don't think that what we think is going to happen will really happen. I think that Frank and, Frank Castle and Nick Fury, yeah, they're not going to like what went on. But at least Nick Fury, like, he knows that it has to go on. He's not going to overstep things because he is proud of, the Marines. And he's proud of this and proud of the CIA. Whatever it is, he's not going to tell on them because then everything falls apart.
Yeah,
and the same maybe with Frank. So the guy just throws it out there. And even then, you have this weird play with them of, what percentage chance do you think that is? Oh, it's 96% and rising. It's like an old De La Soul album. And you end up where I'm like, I don't care about these guys. I don't like them.
I mean, they're going to be cool to see them die, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Fun. And the weird thing is the big play here is I think that what happens at the end is you just have the general, the Marines, and the CIA just blast each other because they're kind of at odds with each other. And then that would kind of end everything kind of very
Whatever
neatly,
it is, it's going to be horrific. I can pretty much bet on that.
And so driving... And you have the one guy, and he's like, the question I found myself asking was, does that really sound like Frank or Nick, the things that we think they might do? And then out of nowhere, he goes, you see where I'm going? Hey, what's wrong with you? He goes, do you think you might be driving a little too... And the guy doesn't even bat an eye. He's just driving around. And that's when he goes by, pretty much sideswipes a village. Like, this is the thing, though. When he says, are you driving too fast? He says, no. He's driving through it. It's not like he's doing anything. I thought he was going to hit these people, whatever. Doesn't, right? Those people. But then you see this ox and cart in front of him, and you see there's plenty of room.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't honk, and he just goes. And the best is that he pretty much runs. That guy's dead. It looks like the guy was in the back of this cart. His neck is snapped.
Yeah.
And you have the CIA guy like, I think that what you're getting is, and again, they do mention the names, but they're kind of generic characters. But Blondie, he seems to have a conscience. He seems to care. And I think that's all this is the one guy's just Mr. I'm going to kill everybody and we're going to get our deal, whatever. And in the meantime, this other guy might be the loose end that you can kind of grab because
he's like,
he has some feelings, but it plays out so weird with these guys.
He's like, right? One of those like my car, my rules kind of guys.
Like
the
one guy. I mean,
just do whatever you want, speed around. They don't care.
The
litter.
Black-haired guy, you don't touch the stereo,
the radio, nothing, man.
I just imagine he's like driving around just blaring like Inagata Davida, just pissing people off.
I'll ride with a guy like that one time and never again after that.
Yeah. I'll have to admit, my second oldest son, Zach. That's him.
There you go.
He's the worst. And you know what the worst thing about guys like that? Somehow they're the ones who think they're the greatest drivers. They don't even think they're good drivers. They think that they're beyond compare. Nobody's ever driven like me. I'm the best. And they're like sideswiping.
Weaving through traffic.
I'm telling you, I ended up where the last time I rode with Zach anywhere, I got so sick. And I don't really get car sick that much. And he's weaving around. Oh, my God, he's terrible. Yeah, that guy's dead, though. Also, if he doesn't die from a snap neck, that cart's falling on him.
Fall on him.
The sacks are falling on him, and somehow I think the ox is going to go around and like get handsy with him. But you end up where he's like, "Oh, we'll see what's going to go on," and then we move on from them again. It is part of the main. That's the main structure of the narrative. I'm just kind of here to see Frank now, Nick, and I want to see what once Nick gets his mind back to him. I want to see what he says about this daughter because right now he's not going to.
He doesn't know what's going on, man, this guy.
At one point, Frank says he doesn't even know what planet he's on. Because they end up, now, this is what I'm saying. Like, they're walking down the road. Yeah, they're there with this general. But they also are there with a guy who is completely beaten up with what looks like a blanket over him. Like, why aren't you pretending it's something else? Like I said, pretend that he's hurt or dead and put him on a gurney or something. I don't know. He's just walking around. He looks like a homeless guy.
The lady says, "What is that smell?"
And then he gets in, and she goes, my God.
That's her ex-boyfriend right there.
Yeah, it's a baby daddy.
Yeah.
The thing is, he gets in. I wanted at this point, Nick is so crazed that she is lucky that she's alive because he is not in a good mood. And also, I will say, too, this general is kind of like one of those, like bad guys, but he seems more like he's a dummy and doesn't really know what's going on, because when he saw Nick, he actually was in shock of how bad he was. So I don't think he was doing the torture, because and even then he's like kind of going, Nick doesn't care. Because I think you want to play it out that this guy was doing it, but he did seem shocked to me. But you get this. And also, when you're riding with a guy who has been tortured, right? I mean, viciously tortured, you already know that Nick Fury's a pretty tough dude, but he's been so tortured. Don't take your eye off him. Though in the long run, nobody cares about this general, and this is a good way just to get rid of him, because because they're driving and they're talking about stuff. And through this whole thing, we've had this in these issues where it's just basically, checkpoint. Oh, and the lady's like, listen, I swear to God, the lady has a list. He's like, well, who did I do here? She even says, we were joking. She says at one point, like, I deserve what I'm going to get because I have let a lot of things happen to me to protect my daughter. And so I swear to God, she has this big giant scroll. Oh, where are we? Oh, we got to find Johnny. Like, I did him a couple times, but they get to a couple checkpoints. She has the papers, but they're always going to check the car anyway. So they just have to go through this. And they end up going past a bunch of tanks. And they're like, oh my God, that's crazy. And in the thing where you look, Frank's trying to get through this whole deal, right? He's doing but they're not really near anything. When you see the car and you see where he is and whatnot, they do start shooting. I guess I was thinking that the rearview mirror ended up but they shot it off. But in that, crap's going down at one point. And again, if you're going to get shot by a tank and you're in a car, veer left, veer right. You could get away from that, but they end up blowing up a block, the end of the block.
Yeah, can you imagine getting hit by that? God,
no, it'd be crazy. And that's where they say, I guess they don't care about, the locals.
No.
And they're not even laughing, they're going. And then they look in the back seat. I love, the best is the lady in this one, when she says, what's that smell? Now she looks in the back seat, and Nick, I'll describe it as this. Nick Fury's yelling, MFer, climb inside you, pull your spine out. And he is elbow deep in this guy's mouth.
His face.
He is fisting his face. He has his fist, at least he can grab whatever this guy had for lunch. And maybe, bring it up. It is way down there. This guy's dead. Even then, he's trying to stop the guy. Here's my hint. Bite down on him. Do something. You got to do something.
I don't think he can, though, at that point, because he's so far in there.
I'm telling you, he let him go too far. Maybe he was like, well, I'm kind of an experimental guy. I'll see what's happening. He also might be drunk. I don't know, but Nick
said to him, climb inside and pull your spine out.
Yeah, he's going to climb inside and pull his spine out.
Climb inside.
He's completely over the top. He's there. He's glaring. And so when that's going, the thing is, you think this is they just end up turning. The lady just turns and looks forward, eyes front, and then says, oh, this is our turn. While in the back, Nick Fury is going deeper and deeper. I mean, he's going to town, and you do have Frank at one point looks back and is like, what the hell?
I think it's just a Tuesday for Frank.
Yeah, he's probably yeah. And again, he's like, yeah, he's blown off some steam. That's the deal. But they keep running in these checkpoints. And then they say, okay, what's next? Well, we'll go to here. We'll get a thing. They have this weird, we're going to put the car here. Then we'll get this car. Then we'll burn that car. And again, some of the things, I know that it probably makes sense, but it's kind of okay, let's get with it and see what we're going to do next. But yeah, you end up where the girl, Nick Fury's daughter, and the mother, they're talking again. And the girl ended up revealing that she's not a goody two-shoes. She's actually stolen a truck. And they're like, oh, that's great. And then the mother goes mother like daughter. And I wanted the daughter to say, whoa, I'm not quite like you, Mom. You've done some bad things. But that's where they're talking. And so you end up where the lady says, is he going to be okay? Is Nick going to be okay? And Frank says, oh, he's been through the ringer. He doesn't know where he is right now, but he's Nick Fury. Nick Fury can get it. And she goes, I hope so. Because basically we laughed that she would want child support. she wants just support. She wants to get the hell out of Vietnam, and she thinks Nick owes her. Yeah. So says, like, he better be okay, and I'm going to get what's mine. I ended up doing really bad things. That's his daughter. We're going to get out of here. While Nick is just standing there looking at his bloody hands that killed that man with, and he's off. He doesn't know what's going on, but they're going to have to go forward, and, you know, you even have the idea, hey, I stole this, and they seem impressed by her, but you end up where all this is going on. Then we go back to the CIA guys, and now they're having a drink at the bar, and they're still talking like, do you really think that what you told me before is true? Yeah, I do. Well, what percentage? And they just go, and it just ends up again of, you know, Fury and Castle, they're probably not going to sell us out, but they're going to be walking into an ambush. And you see that the black-haired guy, he kind of seems to know more of what really is going to happen and what's going on. Because as this is all going on, where you do have them hoofing it, you have Frank, and then followed by Nick Fury, who should be doing no walking, but he's there. No. And then you have the two ladies. And they think, you know, hey, we're in the clear, whatnot. But you see that the Marines, they have things set up, and they're going to try to ambush them. At this point, I don't see how they couldn't.
I mean, they have sniper rifles.
Yeah, they have sniper rifles. And, I mean, I know that Frank Castle's Frank Castle. Nick is hardly himself right now in the two ladies. But we'll see what it goes on. But it's kind of funny. I'm glad that this lady ended up being part of it, because she makes me laugh every time. Like, she will not go half an issue without, like, explaining that she's done some really bad things. She keeps bringing it up, like, we get it. One of the things was probably, like, I even did this guy, like Nick Fury. And again, look at that. She ended up having a daughter, but she's using that. Like, she's not a saint. She's kind of using Nick now. Not using him, but wants the thing from him. But in the meantime, again, at the end, you have the one black-haired CIA guy. He's just like, he doesn't care. He doesn't care who dies, whatnot. And that blonde-haired guy does seem to have that, like, well, I feel bad about this thing, so I think he might help out.
He's going to turn somehow on the other guy.
Yeah, and that guy, I mean, again, you're in there, that's your buddy, but the guy seems like a real prick, just driving people off the road for no reason. But with that, what would you give it?
I'd give this one a solid 8, I think. I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it as well. I'll give it an 8. I actually like this one more than last issue. Last issue had a lot of exposition. It had a lot of, like, hey, we're going to explain this stuff while we're driving around. This one, you have, you know, ripping spines out. You get some funny things, and these CIA agents running people off the road. But yeah, I'll go. Yeah, and I do like the art. The art's good, and it's an art style that's not going to, like, impress you like some, like, oh my god, you have to see that page. But the horrific, you know, things, the deaths are crazy. But it all solid.
This art style would suck on, like, a Spider-Man or an Avengers or something.
It's good on this, though, right?
On, like, this war stuff, it's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So we'll go with that, and we're just going to keep going. We're going to do it different, because usually we stop for breaks. We'll just go.
Let's do it.
Go forward with Spider-Boy. We're doing it live. Spider-Boy number 11 is the book that's up next. Spider-Man, or Spider-Boy number 11, written by Dan Slott, art by Paco Medina, with colors by Eric Arciniega and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. I don't know how many people are still reading Spider-Boy. Me and you like it. I've been drifting away from it. This issue, it's a weird play, because now everybody remembers Bailey. Mm-hmm. That seemed to be like the driving force of the book. Like, that's what kept the book going, is they didn't remember him. And I even said at one point, I'm afraid of what happens when they do. Is it going to change the thing? Is it going to make it, like, kind of irrelevant? Because what are you going to do then? And I think that Dan Slott does it kind of good. I mean, again, this is the thing. This is one of those books that I know that, why get upset about it? You don't have to read it. It doesn't tie into, it did tie into Superior Spider-Man.
There's a little
bit
of overlap, but like 5%.
Yeah, but not even, like, if you're reading Spider-Man, you don't have to read this.
No.
If you're reading Amazing Spider-Man. If you're reading, like, you really don't, but it's a fun little book that I think kids would like. And again, we said that Dan Slott isn't doing what everybody gets mad about. He's not elevating Bailey in a way that he's done nothing and you have to love him. Or, hey, everybody, look, he's on the Avengers now. Or he's not doing that. In fact, Bailey is kind of a broken character, especially because they couldn't remember him. He's poor. He ends up, trying to charge people for the deal, which is funny that Chasm tried to do it last week. But you end up where he's kind of cool. Also, we have Boy Spider that everybody loves. But you end up where
he's in the mix now, this Boy Spider.
Boy Spider might be kicked to the curb is what's going on here. So, and with that, Eli the elephant might be the most uncaring of any of these animal people.
Hell if I know.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, it is, yeah, hell if I know, the Eli deal. Because he's like, whatever. And then he even says, because they're like, hey, I put a fresh pot of coffee on. He's like, not now, Mrs. Briggs, Spider Boy's on the news. Like, oh, that's rude. But then later, he basically goes up to Boy Spider's like, yeah, I guess you're screwed now. He's like, no, she'll come back. Hey, is she going to come back? Because he leaves because she's there taking care of them at what was the Stillwell Farms under new management they have there. But all of a sudden, boom, she like, and that was the thing. I thought that maybe there'd be something where for some reason the mom still didn't remember. Like something was different or something was wrong, whatever. No, she's like, oh my God, I remember my son. Sayonara, suckers. Like you don't even see at the one point, like she doesn't invite anybody with her, including like Boy Spider.
Well, she brings that cat with her that she used to be that cat, I guess, like, or merged with the cat.
It's like that's her spirit animal now. Yeah. Right? She's there. She's a cat lady.
It's her familiar.
Yeah. So what happens here is weird, though, because usually what you'll have in a book like this is that Spider Boy was taken out of the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, he's back in the timeline, but yet people understand that he was out of the time. It's not like, oh my God, there he is. And well, because you don't ever remember him going away, that it's just, that's a normal day.
It's kind of the reverse of what we normally get,
yeah,
which is taking people away.
Yeah, and even then, like, they have that idea of, like, if the world and our life is a simulation, we could wake up tomorrow, and what we're living today is completely different from yesterday. But if they have it, that it's in our mind, it's always been, you don't. So this guy, right away, he's on the news, he's like, yeah, we have all these stupid reports that they weren't around for 3 years. We got a stack of them.
We're going to be here for an hour talking about Spider Boy.
We got to catch up. And I thought that's really weird for them to know when a timeline has changed. But I guess the timeline isn't changed. It's that Bailey's back, but then they realize he was there, but not. It's very odd.
I mean, it would happen in real life if you got like Taylor Swift news that like 3 years worth that you didn't know about.
If for 3 years Taylor Swift was out of the timeline and then she's back in the timeline, including everything that happened, we would just think she'd always been there. It'd be like, oh, that Taylor Swift.
Yeah, it's an interesting take on it. Yeah.
And so it's a weird play because, like I said, usually what would happen is Bailey would be walking around thinking, oh, man, I'm glad you remember me now. And they will remember you like we were talking yesterday. Like the timeline would fix itself in that way. But yeah, that's where, and it seems to trigger by getting news of him because his mom ends up, oh my God, Bailey, I can't believe it's true. He really is my boy. So there's that disconnect of him in that. So I'm telling you, the minute that she's like, Bailey's my boy, she ditches these animals. She's like, out of here. And that's where you have the saddest deal. It's Boy Spider, Mama, and I gotta go. And then poor Boy Spider's like, she'll come back, right? And Helifino goes, why? She ain't a humanimal anymore. She's normal now. She don't need us. Like, it's so mean. And so now she's got a real son. Why would she need you? I'm like, he's just going to jump off a bridge or something. But yeah, you end up where she is taking. And here's the thing I was going to ask you. We are going through this. We have review copies. They're a little low res. But are you with me that in this, any names on vehicles or buildings look like it was done post-drawn? And
I recall a conversation you had with your boy Solly about that, and he said that all the text is added later at a higher resolution.
It's really odd,
and it
right?
throws you off. It
throws you off. It looks like
that Stillwell Farms looks horrible.
Stillwell Farms. It's terrible. It's one of those where it's like almost looks like it's stamped on, and it is.
Because all the bubbles too are clear. All the word bubbles.
So you have that going, and there's even like a Roxxon car later that really sticks out. You have a bunch of things going, but you end up where the mom, she's going to feast. She tries to get a hold of Bailey. He's like, well, that son of a gun. I bought him a phone, but we know that was stolen. And then she gets a hold of Peter Parker. It was
she slaps him, man. What a nut.
Yeah, no. I mean, here's the thing. She runs in. And it's like, Bailey, you're okay. And he's like, yeah, Mom, I'm here. And they hug, and he's crying, and it's great. Spider-Man's there. And it's such a setup. Like, okay, well, so Spider-Man taught you all this stuff, and he had you fight all these things. Yeah, it was great. And she goes over and slaps Peter, like one of the hardest slaps ever. Like, this is what we want to have Paul. Boom. Like right there. And also at one point, I swear to God, the way it was looking, I swear she was like going the opposite way his head. It was weird, but she's not.
Or she's doing that quick back and forth slap.
Yeah. like she's a Three Stooge. And then you end up where, again, very, very uncomfortable for Christina, who's their best friend. Also, it seems like what you're going to get a play here is, and I think it's a setup of, Christina is going to be pushed aside. This plays out like she's all that, or Can't Buy Me Love, that now that Bailey is now going to be so popular and everybody remembers him, I think he's going to like kind of ditch her and she'll be upset and she'll kind of hook up with Boy Spider and they'll try to get things right. Again, maybe to a point where they want to get that timeline back and do something crazy, but that would be really wacky. Again, I don't think that by the end of this, I think there's going to be some play where Bailey will think I'd rather be separate. It's weird. I don't know how you go forward with it, but you end up, you slapped Spider-Man mom. He's like, damn right I did. Let's go. And then just Christina's like, you had spider sense. You could have dodged that. And he's like, yep, I could have. So he took the slap. That's the big thing. Then Peter ended up. That made the mom feel better. So the big play, though, is the mom says, you're not going to be a superhero anymore. You can't do it. I won't allow it. And you know what? She's right. He's 10 years old. And that's the thing. And I said to you before we recorded, Dan Slott in this issue has a lot of moments where he's poking fun at people who said, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, doesn't need a sidekick. Oh, nobody you'll have, headlines and talks about why you'd have that. But he is 10 and he's doing things.
Pretty young.
Though Peter said you can only do these other things and he has his own, but still, he's 10 years old. He's really young. And she pretty much grounds Bailey.
But he is super strong, though.
And so this is the next thing about this is where you have the timeline. I guess Spider-Boy's outside of the timeline because he was severed. Now he's back. But legitimately, people have stories of it. But you have to play the idea he never went to school during that time, that he was forgotten because his work is piled up. And he's like, the best is he has to catch up for 3 years. Like, that's going to happen. Like, he's like, I don't understand this division because now
they're dividing fractions. If somebody gave you a fraction to divide, would you be able to do it? Like, just no chance, right?
Like, out of town. I'd be like the one kid there, and he's like scribbling. I'd be like Bailey's scrawling.
He's got a blank sheet of paper. Bailey does.
He's just like, what the heck? But he likes the girl that sits next to him. There's some fun things. And then he's like, what? We're doing this now. And he's like, yep, you missed it. You missed it, Bailey. You got a lot of catching up to do. When he started saying, hey, you should get a hold of it, I thought that these were like the dumb kids in class and he was going to get put in some other class, but it's the people who sit next to him. I thought, like, you're going to be going with Larissa and Marco, like those guys. They're on the other room, but now they're going to help him.
Did you notice how close their desks are pushed together, too? That's ripe for cheating right there.
And they even have it. It's like one long day. It's nonsense. But and you end up seeing this girl. She's doing her work, but also making things with Spider-Boy. He's like, you like Spider-Boy? And she's like him.
That's his new girlfriend right there.
Yeah, and he's like, I love him so much. I'm going to kiss him, and I'm going to marry him. And again, you forget that they're only 10. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Oh, and then he's like, oh, yuck, that's nasty. And then the one guy's, yeah, Spider-Boy's probably horrific. No, I mean, just kiss him. And so, but again, it's kind of fun. Christina gets just right to the side. And also her awful parents. We didn't like them anyway. But yeah, he gets all these books. And again, it's like you have 3 years to deal. No, usually then he should be in like second grade or whatever. You know what I mean? But he's going to catch up. He goes back. This is another one where they're moving into the apartment. They live above the school, this deal, or feast. Actually, they live above because the mom kind of works there. And then you end up where they have boxes with like Bailey's toys, but that's just printed.
Look how clearly labeled it
looks. That's the problem. You got to run it through a filter that at least makes it look a little worn. It's really bad.
I want to know what the final product looks like.
Because this might just be for us, and then it's
got to be a placeholder.
I would hope, but yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
It looks like Comic Sans font or something.
Maybe it is just a placeholder, and everybody listening is like, this isn't happening with us. But we'll see. Cookbooks. That's one of the things. That's the smallest box because they're probably British. There you go.
Yeah,
they're not. But you end up where they're going, and Bailey wants to go out. He wants to do things, but he's not allowed. And even at one point, she's like, you got to put this on that. And he's like, oh, no. In my spider suit, it's made of unstable molecules. Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, made it for me. And she goes, well, I'm going to go talk to Mr. Fantastic. You're not going to slap him, are you? She's like, I just might. And they're yelling at each other. Christina's there. She keeps having to like walk away when they're fighting. And he just happens to, he borrowed that Larissa, the girl who likes Spider-Boy that sits next to him, borrowed her notebook. he ends up going to grab it to do his homework, and he ends up having, at the point where he's telling his mom exactly what he does, and it happens, where he sees that they're in big trouble. He's like, oh my God, and he sees that their school bus, there's a problem with the bus driver. I'm telling you, if you're reading this and look, I don't want to be shameful, but I swear to God that bus driver was Gail Simone at one point. But he ends up going, he's got to save this bus with this Larissa and all the kids in his class. They all love Spider-Boy. They're cheering. He ends up saving a guy on a crosswalk that says, thanks, Bug Boy. And then there's Bailey. Well, man, somebody's saying thanks in New York. That's crazy. I'm like, okay, Dan Slott, settle down.
Well, the bus driver's like screaming about she needs her pills, I guess.
Yeah, her pills. But they don't.
How fast would your pills work? Like, it seems like it would take like a half an hour or something to kick in. I mean, you're toast.
She's talking Percocet. If she's going down, she wants to go down and then not worry about it. It's nap time for Gail. But yeah, Bailey's going to do. This is the thing, though. All the rest could probably do this too. I mean, really, he goes and grabs the lady, gets her out of the seat, and then they're going to have to drive. And you have this Larissa. She's got the wheel at one point, and then Spider-Boy gets on and says, hey, I piloted a giant robot yesterday. I should be able to do this. Almost hits a Roxxon deal that, again, just printed on, especially when you see it from the side. Flammable. And they're going to hit, and they end up avoiding and stopping and give fist bumps. And so this is the nice part where the mom comes running to yell at Bailey and see if he's okay. And in the meantime, here's everybody saying that, oh, my God, you saved my daughter. Oh, my God, you saved this lady. Oh, my God, you saved this. And she realized that Bailey's pretty good. He's a hero, and he should be. It's a nice moment. Yeah. It's one of those things that you end up where I've seen it a bunch of times. But again, he's doing his homework. He's caught up. He wants to go out and kind of patrol. She says, don't get involved with bad guys, like really bad guys. And you end up having her doing a scrapbook or continuing it, which Spider-Boy saves the day. And then in the meantime, you end up having a guy picking up all the papers. And the guy at the newsstand's like, hey, you owe me this. And then says, oh, I'm sorry about that. And doesn't charge the guy. We find out it's Bullseye.
Yeah.
And Bullseye's, training a girl there to throw, throwing stars.
Do you think we know who this ninja is, or is it a new character?
I don't know, because I know there's like lady Bullseyes and stuff like that, but this seems like
that's not a lady Bullseye.
No, and I'm guessing that this is like a counterpart to a young Bailey, that this would be a sidekick for Bullseye, and maybe people do know, but that's what it kind of seems to me. Even when he says like, good, that's pretty good there, lady, or whatever it is, and going to town
nice
with it.
Kid.
So, yeah, it says that. So that's all it seems like,
we'll see,
to me, Bullseye doesn't seem like anybody who would be having a sidekick. I mean, people complained about Spider-Man having a sidekick. Bullseye's crazy, but wants revenge, and then you see the next deal that he'll reacquaint himself with Daredevil that he did before. Daredevil trained him at one point. Yeah. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than the last two issues, I think. I think it actually jumped up, and now we get Bailey back. Everybody remembers him. But that's the funny thing. And Dan Slott plays the cliche or trope when everybody remembers him. That isn't just all good. There's bad people, and that's what we see at the end with Bullseye and this girl.
If Bullseye's coming at you,
yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So we'll see. And again, that's why we end up having Daredevil there. That's more his deal. So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, that's what we've kind of gotten, a lot of, team ups and things. So what would you give it?
I like this one. I think it's got some cool stuff going on. I'll give it an 8.
Yeah, I'll go 8. Yeah. I actually did like it. I thought it was a return to form, and it gives you the hope, because at one point I thought the book would have been done by now. I thought, hey, you got the character out there, maybe it'll be in a movie or something or whatever. And then you even said
it's going on forever.
Dan Slott was on the Word Balloon podcast, said that they've given him a green light. It's going to go, and I like the direction that he's doing and going. It has some weird little bumps, but they're fine.
Well, once they remove that backup, I think it's a little better. The backup kind of convoluted it a little bit.
That backup was nothing.
Yeah,
and so there's other things too. I mean, Bullseye, that's huge. But you also have Boy Spider, who's all sad. Hell if I know. They still were trying at one point to maybe try to get him back and stuff like that. The mother, Christina's probably going to be jealous, this girl. So there's a lot going on. So I'll go 8. But we'll go to the last book of the deal. I'm going to give it a ding so I know where it is. And this is a book that me and you haven't liked. It's one of those things where me in general, I won't speak for you, but this whole Ultimates line, the Ultimate Spider-Man, this Black Panther and X-Men, it's lost a bit of its zeal for me. It's not that must-read anymore. And while I still like the Ultimate X-Men, but the idea of Ultimate Spider-Man, that's slow-moving, and the other books aren't picking up any sort of pace with, you know what I mean? So when you read those, a lot of those are kind of a slog. Black Panther's just there. To me, it's not good or bad. It's just kind of a mid-deal because not a lot is different. But this Ultimates book is bad, and a lot of people don't like the X-Men. So
I think it's going to look even worse when that Absolute stuff comes out for DC. It's going to be like very, very apparent that this is not as good.
No, and it's just most people, and this is the problem I have, is when you do have something like this, I need to be all in. You know, there's only 4 books. I need to be reading them all because there's not that many. It's the big, and everything's going to tie in. I don't want to read this anymore. This Ultimates book is not good.
And also, they're doing the month-to-month thing. Like, I think Jason brought it up last week on the X-Men thing. It's just too slow.
Yeah. I said at the one point that the Ultimate X-Men twice a month, maybe it'd be great if it was every week.
But there's like a manga. Each issue is a month of time.
Yeah.
So they can't really do that.
It's just forever. So
we
end up. This is the Ultimates number 4. It is written by Dennis Camp, guest art by Phil Noto. The art's pretty good. Letters by VC's.
Yeah, I was happy to see him on this.
Yeah, the art is pretty good. You start out, you'll get your bubbles like, Captain America, not in the issue. Thor, he's not there. Sif, not there. She-Hulk, we just
thank
got
God.
Yeah, really, look at that She-Hulk. And She-Hulk in that land of misfit somethings.
Didn't Gabe like that? He liked it, right?
Yeah, he liked it. I ended up, me and you talked about it, laughed about it. Then I was on another podcast and did the same thing. I couldn't help it. Making fun of all those crazy things. And my whole play of it, though, was that you had Tony Stark Iron Lad. Oh, man, we're going to have a whole army of the Hulks. And like, oh, my God, he was so embarrassed that they had that. But, hey, Giant Man, he's not in it. Wasp, nope. America Chavez, they got her, hasn't been involved. But mention in this that did something. It's not great that you end up having these issues that, last issue was the Land of the Misfit Hulks. Now we're going to get a Fantastic Four issue. And I think that some people will like this. And I won't say that they're wrong, but I don't know what the hell is going through their mind if they do, because this is told in a convoluted way. By the end of it, in a universe that is a, what if ultimate deal. I mean, this is an ultimate universe. This is the book Ultimates. And in my mind, all we're getting each issue is what we don't get. We end up finding out, instead of getting the Fantastic Four, we're going to show you why we didn't. I understand that the maker and all this did it, but it's not a great read to just see there and read. I made a joke. And find out that Ben Grimm killed himself, threw himself into a ravine.
It's terrible. Look at it. His head's all bloody, too. It's gross.
Yeah, so you end up where what happens is you're going to go through a bunch of time jumps between panels. You're going to end up where Doom is Reed Richards, but we're going to find out how he became Doom. And in that, it is a really, really dismal nonsense story. And
I think
really,
it's impossible to even talk about this.
Well, it's going to be tough. And the thing that gets me is usually when I look at books like this, I want to see that Reed Richards was beaten down. He lost everything, but he's still Reed Richards instead of the maker forcing him to be Doom. And now he's just kind of like, I'm going to do this. And he's experimenting on rats to try to get them the powers. And that I think seemed more clever than the goofiness that we get in. But in it, again, what you're just going to do is show that the Fantastic Four, and we've seen, how many times have we seen this, the idea where they go up in the rocket and they miss something, or the gamma rays, so they end up not being we've seen this before. This one ends up being even more dismal because of the maker. I get it, but still, you end up having all this, and there's Doom as Reed Richards, and there was never a Fantastic Four because he done messed up. And, you end up where you go and you jump each panel. We're going to jump back in time when he meets Ben and they're at college. Hey, I'm 13, whatever. And Ben's like, hey,
I guess that was different. I guess.
Yeah. And then they end up like, okay, then they're in the rocket. And they ended up, the funding went down. Again, it's that sneak on the rocket and go off. That's so ridiculous. But when they go off, you end up, when it comes back, pretty much everybody's dead. Sue looks like she's got cancer. She's dying. Ben offs himself. Johnny's just dead. And there's Reed, who ends up being tortured by the maker. That's it. That's the issue. And if you like that, fine. If you end up, like, again, people were talking about the one point where it's like, oh my God, don't you get it? Kennedy got assassinated. I'm like, yeah. Like, I don't know if we're in some sort of like simulation, like I said before, but I think that happened in Dennis Camp has been aping a lot of things where people are saying how great it is to me. Like, oh, it's cool that I'm like, that's nothing different. Even last issue, the idea of the nuclear testing, it wasn't anything new to this. And he was just pointing, it's just heavy-handed, everything he does. And I don't find it that interesting. The art's pretty good, but pretty much, like I said, you end up where all the best laid plans go to hell because the maker rips them apart. That's how he is able to keep the Fantastic Four from ever becoming it. I get it. Like I said, he did it with everybody. He did it with Peter. He did it with that. But in this, maybe there's that little sliver of the deal where there's Iron Lad who won't let time travel be involved, where Tony's been trying to get the heroes back, but he needs Doom, but Doom wants to be Reed again. So you have it, but that's not even played out that well. And you just have, like I said, after the death of the Fantastic Four, Reed's already hurt. They're going to end up, he's arrested. He's doing all these things going down. And the maker just takes advantage of it. And pretty much, Clockwork Orange, Axl Rose, Welcome to the Jungle, just keeps abusing him, and saying, you're doomed, you're doomed, you're doomed. And where Dennis Camp gets what he thinks is the clever thing, I don't. It's just like, you're doomed because everything you do is doomed. Do you get it? It's like, no, yes, no, yes, no.
So why is he Dr. Doom then? Or is he Dr. Doom, or is it just Doom?
I think it's just Doom, but he might have a PhD of messing things up. That's what he's got. He has like 80 PhDs.
What university is? Can you imagine if you first day of school, college, you get there and your roommate's 13 years old? Like,
you got to set up the rules. Listen, I'm going to be nailing a lot of chicks. Like, you're not going to be involved here. Like, this is the idea when you go. There were some people that I know, like, right away, like, they didn't even want to get to know the room. It's like, the minute they got there, they're like, I'm going down and I'm going to get the hell out of here and transfer to another dorm or whatever. But, I think if I was Ben, I'd probably be like, this isn't going to work. Also, it's funny because now, again, this is back in the day or whatever, but usually you're told who it is and you can even get a hold of them beforehand or whatever. I didn't. No. It was funny. West Virginia, my roommate was Iranian. And he was the funniest guy I ever knew because he was so awkward with everything. And he went, the thing was, he grew up in West Virginia. His parents were Iranian. He could barely speak English. And I said, and his name's Mike. I said, Mike, how did you get through school or anything? Like, you don't even see. And he's like, he just cheated. It's pretty funny. But he would always try to pick up ladies, but he would end up with like, using what would be the most cliche lines like, hey, nice night for a walk, ladies. But he'd say, nice walk for a night, ladies. And they'd be like, what the hell is he saying? He'd get so upset. And then he ended up transferring. He went to, I don't know, somewhere in California or something. He was like he liked to work out. And he claimed he could surf. Maybe he could. He went to California. But it was pretty fun. But I never called him beforehand. And again, he wasn't 13. So if you went there, I'm like, it'd be funny. They're like giving young Reed like a ID, like we're hitting the bars,
it's just
dude.
Crazy,
right? So, and Ben seems like a guy who would like, again though, in the original deal and whatever, Ben, football player and stuff like that. He's stuck with a 13-year-old. But yeah, there's the Sue's dad, all these things mixed in, but it really just goes down.
I just hate when they do this. How they tell the story, like with 4 different grids, like it
keeps bouncing back and forth. And
tell me the story in sequence.
Usually, what you do, that's smoke and mirrors because you don't have much, and there's not much here. You're telling the bad version of the Fantastic Four. This could have been told in a narration panel or a spread page. I mean, it really could have. Just saying the maker screwed. And really, what you should do at this point, let's get on with it. Show us, like, if the Fantastic Four is not there, show us that along with anybody else who's not involved in a bunch of spread pages or something like that, because there's been, and you end up where Dennis Camp thinks it's like really poignant, where it's Ben's like, I think this world's great. Now I'm going to go far. And then the next panel is of the now where he's committing suicide in what is a crazy like quarry that you want to think looks like the thing.
Yeah.
Then that's it. Those are the jokes, people.
I guess. I mean, it's even hard to tell like who Ben is when he was younger, like when he's
really,
not the thing.
And it's reports confirmed the body found at the bottom of the abandoned quarry was of disgraced test pilot Benjamin J. Grimm. Investigators are ruling the death. I'm like, this is a hoot. Like, I love having fun with this. Like, oh my God, Ben. And the irony that he dies in a pile of rocks that are yellow, holy crap, or orange, whatever. And in the meantime, Doom is there and he's like testing out, and he's made a thing mouse, an invisible mouse, an on fire mouse, and a stretchy mouse that he's trying to get the powers while he's thinking back at all the things. It ain't bringing Sue back, dude. Just stop it. Because even there, I love the play where you have the dad like, hey, I wanted you to come and be with Sue while she's dead because you did this, you jerk. And it's just dismal. And so while they have that Doom, I think it's set up to have this play of Reed going rogue. He's already wanting things and he's going to do anything. And time travel is the thing that's off the deal, but he's going to try. And it's weird. At one point, he's like right there with Iron Lad, like, you're a piece of crap, Iron Lad. You're dumb. And then 2 seconds later, he's like, but I'm going to follow everything you say because I think that we're onto something. All right, rah. Tony leaves and he's like, I'm going to get back to my stuff. So I think things are going to go wrong. At one point, he's like just going to destroy things. He's got that hammer. It's going to end up like, I'm like, what is he doing? Somebody stop him. But yeah, and you see the Maker. That's
the worst part about this whole issue, though, is at the end when it says 14 months remaining. To me, that means 14 more issues of this nonsense. So
14 more months of that melted up face. That's why he's got that. Put that mask back on, Reed. You're ugly. But yeah, it's what it is.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't either. And to imagine also, by the way, because you have to have more fun, he's like getting eaten by rats at one point as the Maker laughs at him. It's great. The first family. Oh, I love it. I love this nice nonsense.
And there's the Fantastic Four movie coming out and everything. You want to get people excited about it?
This is what's going to happen. You're going to have reviews and they're going to say, they're going to go on and on about how smart this is. And, oh my God, it subverts the expectations and it's all that. No, I didn't need it. And you could have just told me, hey, by the way, the Fantastic Four got screwed because the Maker ended up messing up the rays, and we've seen it. So you go with that, and we already know Reed. This would have been a cool way that if we didn't know Reed was Doom, and this was the reveal, that would have been played out better. Of all of a sudden, by the end, you realize, oh man, Doom must be thinking about this.
We already know it, though.
You know what I mean? Like if Doom's there, and you're like, oh, Doom is laughing at, oh my God, it's Reed. Then that means something. But no, we already know it. So it's walk down misery lane. If the
reveal hadn't happened yet, this would be a much better issue.
It'd be really good. Like it would have been a cool. Now again, the way that he tells it is nonsense.
If Hickman did it,
yeah, or anybody with skill. I don't think Dennis Camp is good at all. Though one thing that I will say about Dennis Camp, he's better than Steve Fox. So there you go. So you got that.
Take that, Ruben.
Win. Yeah, Ruben. Take that, dude. But you end up where now they'll get that sound clip. We might as well just come on here and just like. The pre-program
yell out
things
stuff.
In there. I did have, at one point, I had to clear them out, though. I did have all those quotes that they have from us. They keep going to that well. And then Jason told me if I need them, he sent the Dropbox of his, because when I have them here, they won't play sometimes. And I'm like, yeah. See, we do the show and rely on our quality.
Mm-hmm.
I just love that one quote. You're like, an exhaustive deep dive. Even I laughed at it when you said it.
Is there any better way to explain it than that? I don't know that there is.
There you go. Clip it up. Jason's going to grab it. So there you go. But what would you give this?
3.
Fiasco.
3.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. I don't want to read it anymore.
I don't want to be as negative as you. 3.1.
It's bad.
I do like the art. The art's like a 4.
Phil Noto art was a refreshing twist on it.
I don't know. It's what happens with this book. And even if you say, oh, but the stories, it's nothing is gripping me to make me need or want to read this more when this is the book that has every advantage to it beyond what anybody else has. It has Thor. It has Captain America. It has Tony. It has Reed Doom. It has all those characters, and they keep adding some to do less. Like the idea that you have Thor, Sif, She-Hulk, all these things going. Why are we telling boring stories that just end up showing us what we don't have? Even at the beginning, you have the, oh man, Cap was doing this. And I'm like, I want to see that. And, at one point, let's go fight Midas, who's bought the White House. Okay, well, what are we going to do with that? Nothing. Let's go to the island of misfit Hulks. All right, what are we doing with that? Nothing. Like everything just happens and boom, it's gone. And at the end of this, you were left with what you had at the beginning. You have Reed, who's doomed. Also, I will play out that we do know the reveal already, so maybe the play would have been, keep this on the down low so we start wondering, what happened? Like, what happened? Now they just told it, and you're like, okay, that's what happened. He ended up where things went wrong, and they're dead, and he was tortured. Oh, well, that's a feel-good story of the year.
Yeah. The next issue, we get Hawkeye, Hawkeye.
Yeah, and we'll just end up just doing, and that Hawkeye looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
like a Native American Hawkeye looks pretty cool. So yeah. I don't mind that deal, but we'll see how he mucks it up. By the way, he's still better than Steve Fox. So there you go. Steve Fox. There's a lot of bad writers nowadays. He's one of them. So there you are. But with that, that is it.
What about next week?
Well, what about next week? Did you load it up already?
I did, yeah, I did.
What are we talking about next week? What are we yelling about next week?
Well, there's the Avengers Assemble #1 by a Steve Orlando joint, which might be interesting, but probably not.
Yeah. Steve Orlando's a really nice guy. He is, but writing...
Amazing Spider-Man.
As a writer, he's a really nice guy, but we'll be doing Amazing Spider-Man.
Black Panther Ultimate version.
Okay, and we'll be doing that.
And
got those three.
There's Wolverine #1, Saladin Ahmed and
there's that.
Kokolo.
We haven't been really dealing with a lot of Saladin Ahmed stuff, but it is a #1. But I don't want to step on the toes of Ruben. Like, I will say that Ruben is wrong and Steve Fox is a hack, but the idea of stepping on his toes with the Wolverine deal, they'll probably be covering that. That's more of the legit Wolverine book, but we'll see. We'll see what's going on.
There's Blood Hunters #2 if you're interested too. Keep that going.
Did you read the first issue of Blood Hunters? Because when I saw it, I thought it was just the continuation of the Blood Hunt thing, so I wasn't reading that, and I didn't realize they were continuing that. I don't think anybody's reading that. I really don't, but we'll see. And then we have 3 books already, and then we'll see if we're going to add some things in. But that's it. That is it for the show. Thanks for joining me, Matt. I hope people had fun with it. I'm a little tired, and I think it showed. We were goofing off, but that's kind of what we'd like.
You got to go to Walmart now, so.
Yeah, I got to go to Walmart. That's the thing, too. I should have stopped this nonsense about 20 minutes ago, but I was having fun.
Have fun when they're stocking merchandise and giving you dirty looks.
No, I'll tell you what I have fun doing. That's the worst. Like, it pretty much is like going through a minefield. But what's the worst is I will get there at 10:30. They will, 5 minutes from there, which normally that would mean 10:35. They will announce over the deal that it's 10 of. Like, they lie all the time. People, they do. I'm in there because I end up having to go late, and I used to like the 24/7 deal.
Yeah, what happened? That pandemic killed it.
It was the pandemic. And, damn you, I don't know, Jimmy Carter. We end up where I would go because we podcast late, especially the DC used to be. So I would go at like 2 a.m. And sometimes my kids would come, we'd get snacks and stuff like that. But now I'm always on the rush. And I get there and I know I have a phone, but it has the time. And I'm like, it isn't 10 of. It's 20 of you jerks. And they start like, if you don't get in the front, they start threatening you. Mm-hmm. At one point, they had guys at the doors saying, like, asking you what you're getting. And I said, what I'm getting is none's your business. I'm going in and usually I'm getting, like, I got to get dog food tonight. Our poor dog is starving right now because I didn't realize we didn't have dog food. So I got to go get that now. So we will do that. But that is it. A little bit of extra bonus coverage. But
everybody can relate to it. They love it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm going to be rushing over there just trying to get in and trying to get my stuff. But with all of that, thanks, everybody. Thanks, Matt, for joining me. Everybody, check the show notes for all the links, including our Patreon, if you want to help us out and get more and more shows. But that is it. Thank everybody, and we'll talk to you later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.